Hello everybody, welcome back. Scorpio Caesar here, and today is October 26, 2023, and as of recording this episode, not exactly sure when it's going to be able to come out, if I can make it in time, but the PlayStation 2 is officially 23 years in North America, which is insane to think that this console is already 23 old. My god, I was, 10 or 11 when this thing came out? I want to talk a little bit about my history with the PlayStation 2 as well as share my collection of games for it, because my collection stands at around 120, maybe a bit more. It has been a while since I've counted, but I have a pretty decent PS2 collection. It's almost on par with my Xbox collection. So anyways, that out of the way, welcome to the Caesar Arcade.
Get ready.
The PlayStation 2 really doesn't need an introduction, but hell, I'm going to give it one anyways because why not, right? I'm going to do my best. Anyway, so it was the most successful Sony console and most successful console in general. To this day, it is still the number one in terms of how many units were actually sold. There were thousands of games for this thing, I swear. The collection for this would be insane if you have a complete set. I'm not envious of you at all, but damn, best of luck to anybody who's trying to go for a complete set of this thing. The PlayStation 2 was a console that, at the time, I wasn't really looking on the internet because the internet was still pretty new to me. I was still young and I wasn't really paying attention to what was going on in the video game world. I was perfectly happy with my PlayStation and my N64 at the time. I knew this thing was coming out, I just didn't really have that much interest in it at the time. But my earliest memory of it was my brother-in-law, Luke, actually had one. My parents actually ended up getting him a game for one of his birthdays. It was a surprise birthday party. They got him Spy Hunter on the PlayStation 2. And Spy Hunter I was aware of because I remember watching commercials for it. And I was like, so that's the PlayStation 2. I went up to his place, got to try it out, see what it was all about, and I was like, wow, this looks pretty cool. And I just kind of like moved on. I was like, oh, hopefully I get one of those one of these days. and then fast forward to 2001, my brother-in-law Luke and my oldest sister Melody gifted us an early Christmas gift. It was the PlayStation 2, and I still remember it to this day. That day, just opening the box, seeing that big blue PlayStation 2 box and being floored by it. And I was just like, what? This is awesome. Thank you so much. And they got us a game with it, and that game was Ace Combat 4. I remember seeing the graphics in this game and being floored by it and thinking, holy crap, this looks amazing. For some reason, this case still has some sticker residue on there. I don't know, I think we need to take a visit from Mr. Clean Your Games and talk a little bit about how to remove that sticker residue from those pesky GameStop labels. I have a video for that in case you don't already know. Sorry for the shameless plug. So despite the Dreamcast being the first 6th generation console, and we're not arguing this, it is a 6th generation console, okay? The PlayStation 2 was the first entry to the 6th generation for a lot of gamers. And for most gamers, it was all they needed that generation because it had so many damn games. The exclusives for it, it had online play. It was an absolute powerhouse. And one of the reasons why this thing was so damn successful in the first place was because it had a DVD player built in. Right out of the box, you can watch DVDs, which was a new format that was coming out at the time and was just starting out. And it was replacing VHS, and Sony basically said, hey, you want a DVD player? Well, it comes with a game console too. And that was brilliant marketing on their part. Couldn't fault them on that. It's one of the reasons why the PlayStation 2 sold so well. The GameCube didn't include DVD playback or DVD support at all, which was very unfortunate and a bad move on Nintendo's part. It wasn't until the Panasonic Cube, but that's more niche than anything. The original Xbox also supported DVD playback, but it was stupid because you had to buy a remote control set in order to access that. Why would they do that? I don't exactly know. It's just the way Microsoft did things. I mean, if you're gonna ask me what I would have done back then if I had the money, of course I'd choose a PlayStation 2 over any other DVD player. So yeah, that is a brief history lesson with my earliest memories with the PlayStation 2. I still remember going to my brother-in-law's place soon after, playing games like Smuggler's Run, the original Spy Hunter, the original SSX, games like those, the earliest ones. They were fantastic and I really had a good time with it. Now, is it my favorite 6th generation console? Admittedly, no. I know I lost a few of you there for a minute, but let me explain. I was always more of an original Xbox and GameCube guy. I did have the PlayStation 2, but for the most part, I tend to game more on those. And unfortunately, because of that, I ended up missing out on a lot of the exclusives that made the PlayStation 2 so damn popular in the first place. Games like the Sly Cooper, Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, God of War, those games that made the system so popular, you know, besides Grand Theft Auto. But I played Grand Theft Auto. Those were the games that really made this system what it was, and they wouldn't come to multiple platforms, if ever, until later on. So I have, as you can see, I'm flanked by 2 original PlayStation 2 models. Now, why I have not 2, but 3 of these damn things, allow me to explain. So for the longest time, I was perfectly fine with my silver PlayStation 2 Slim. We'll get to that. Hang on. But I wanted a fat PlayStation 2 because I was nostalgic about it. So I decided to hunt one down. I found one on eBay for like $30. It was being sold for parts. Said it powers on, but there's no audio or video output. I figured it was a simple RGB component menu issue that plagues some of these systems. I went in there, opened it up, cleaned it out. The damn thing was dirty as hell. And unfortunately, despite all my cleaning and everything, still no video and audio. So I'm guessing it's either the AV port that's the issue, or it's an issue with one of the chips on the motherboard. That is out of my control. That is not something I want to deal with right now. So I was like, oh well, I guess I'll just stick with the Slim and just have this for display. So what ends up happening is that my mother-in-law sends me a text going through my wife's things still stored in her apartment, and she sends me a picture of a PlayStation 2 Fat. So I'm like, this is awesome. Perfect. So I got the PlayStation 2 from her. Works like a dream. I didn't give it a deep clean like I gave this one. I basically just swapped the shell from the one I got on eBay, which was in much better shape, with the motherboard and interiors from my wife's console. Then Felice Gaming on Instagram ends up showing this off in a story deal. This was only 25 bucks shipped. Turns on, video and audio, but it doesn't read the games. So what I do, went inside, cleaned out the disk drive, lubricated it, cleaned out the laser, works decently enough. It still skips with certain games, so I'm probably gonna have to do some more Frankensteining amongst these 3 consoles. So that out of the way, this was also the first model. It was the first video game console that could actually stand up vertically. And a cool feature that this model has is that, in case you didn't already know this for some odd reason, you can actually rotate the PlayStation symbol on the front of the disk tray to match the orientation of how you decide to lay out your console. With that, I also have a original DualShock 2. So let's pull these aside and talk a little bit about the PlayStation 2 Slim. So later on, Sony decided to do a slim version of the PlayStation 2, and this is it basically. It was a slimmed down version of the PlayStation 2. Now, this one was actually given to me by my friend Super Mario Zilla. If you haven't checked out his channel, we've collaborated before on this channel and my other channel. So I borrowed it from him because he told me that it didn't read discs. There were issues with it. However, he didn't have the power supply for it. So I told him I'll hold on to it. I'll get it to it eventually when I buy a separate power supply. Just recently he said, you know what, you can keep it. We got another one. So thanks, Vinny. I appreciate that. Now, it's seen better days. It definitely needs a good deep clean. and I definitely plan on giving it one at some point and seeing if I can fix the issues that it has. Now, if anybody would like to see that video of me just cleaning this damn thing, hit the like button, let me know in the comment section down below. Sony would later further revise the PlayStation Slim into this form, and it's very minor in terms of like actual design. However, there are some noticeable differences. It's a bit more streamlined. As you can see, it's missing some of that grill effect from the original PlayStation 2 Slim, and it looks a bit more on the smoother side. It's also got a two-tone top here, as opposed to the original PlayStation 2 Slim, which was all matte and had that glossy line going through the middle. Also, the power supplies were different, and here is the actual controller for it. Early PlayStation 2 Slims actually played PlayStation 1 games through hardware backwards compatibility, while later models like the 90,000 model here ran PlayStation 1 games through emulation. So keep that in mind. If you want the best, most efficient way to play PlayStation 1 games through backwards compatibility, go with the earlier fat PlayStation 2s, or make sure you go with the earlier slim models. Next up, we have memory cards. I've got quite a few of them. Here I have a translucent red one, I have a standard black one, I have two translucent blue ones, and the one I originally had was the Nyko yellow one here with the black grips on it. This one's the one I'm most nostalgic for because this was the first PlayStation 2 memory card we actually owned. Granted, you did need a lot of these memory cards if you had a lot of games for the system. And I remember at the time I only had the one memory card, and that was rough, having to delete save files to make up room for new games that you would get. And I tell you, man, some games had like ridiculous save files. But yeah, I mean, the save file icons are another iconic PlayStation thing, especially with the PlayStation 2. That's when they reached their peak. You had little animated low poly characters or icons that represented, you know, the games you were playing. And I always loved them, and I love how they would interact with you sometimes depending on if you chose to copy them or delete the save file. The PlayStation 2, I feel like, is the system people had the most memory cards for. We gotta talk games. I have a huge collection of games here. I want to kind of go through these quickly because, like I said, I want to get this video out in time for the anniversary, but if I can't, then so be it, it'll come out a week later. Anyways, let's get to the collection of games. Ace Combat 4. This was my entry into the Ace Combat series. I do remember playing the demo for Electrosphere through a PlayStation demo disc, which was the third game in the series. But PlayStation 2 first memory was with Ace Combat 4, and I absolutely adore this game and this series in general. Next up, we have Ace Combat 5. Auto Modelista. This is a game that I ended up picking up for the PlayStation 2 because it was cheapest on this console compared to the GameCube and Xbox versions. This is a beautiful racing game that unfortunately controls like crap, but it's a very beautiful game. It's a skill issue. I get it. I suck at it, but I'm sure a lot of people feel the same way. Burnout Dominator. This is a Burnout game that I feel a lot of people completely forgot about because it was exclusive to the PS2 and the PSP. Next up, we have Clock Tower 3, Cold Winter. Contra Shattered Soldier. This was one of my earliest PlayStation 2 memories, playing this with my brother-in-law and getting my ass kicked because he was pretty good at it. I absolutely sucked at it. To this day, I still suck at it. Crash to Insanity. The Greatest Hits version of The Wrath of Cortex. Crazy Taxi. Another one of the first PlayStation 2 games we got for Christmas that year. Death by Degrees. This was a spin-off from the Tekken series with Nino Williams. It was a beat-em-up. Dog's Life. I'm more of a cat person myself, but Dog's Life. This is a game that exists, and it's so freaking weird. But you don't get games like this anymore. I tell you, it's amazing. The 6th generation of consoles was when creativity peaked. Dragon Quest VIII. Duel Masters, never played it, just got it because it's a holographic. We have Extermination, another forgotten horror game. with very interesting voice acting, but it's only on the PlayStation 2. Definitely recommend this one. Fatal Frame 3, probably my favorite in this series. Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2. Frogger the Great Quest. Never, ever say I never entertain you. I got this off eBay, and listen to this. The seller sent me this letter with it. Handwritten. I'll read you what it says. Hi, my name is Stefan, and I'm writing this to say thanks for buying my game. I loved this game as a child, and I hope you do too. Thank you. You can say all you want about a game you don't like and how much it sucks, but remember this, and this is something I tend to always think about whenever I play a bad game. You may think it's a bad game, but out there somewhere, it's somebody's favorite game. Next up, we have Frogger's Adventure the Rescue and Frogger Ancient Shadow. Genji Dawn of the Samurai. The Getaway and The Getaway Black Monday. These are two games that, oh man, they're a bit rough on the controls, but you can definitely tell the production values for these games were through the roof. Next up, we have Ghost Hunter. This is another game that I feel a lot of people don't really talk about enough. It's kind of a horror game, but it's more on the campy side, more on the kind of Ghostbusters side. It's really good actually, and I like some of the ghost and creature designs in this game. Actually pretty creepy. If you haven't checked out Ghost Hunter, another PlayStation 2 exclusive, I definitely recommend. Ghost Recon Jungle Storm. This was exclusive for the PlayStation 2. God of War Greatest Hits. Godzilla Save the Earth. I originally owned this on the Xbox, but I wanted to pick it up on the PlayStation 2, so now I have it on the PlayStation 2 and it's complete. As well as Godzilla Unleashed. Two games that to this day I still have to make videos on. Next up we have Grand Theft Auto 3. I'll never forget Grand Theft Auto 3. For the longest time my cousins always had the latest and greatest video games. It wasn't until later on I got to show them up when I had Grand Theft Auto 3, and my cousin Tito was like, I want to play this. Let's keep playing this. Let's keep playing it. I'm like, oh, let's play SmackDown, man. Let's play something else. No, I want to try this. I want to keep playing this. It had to come eventually. Grand Theft Auto San Andreas. Now, I'm missing Vice City. I have it on the Xbox, but I am missing Vice City on the PlayStation 2, which is odd considering it's my favorite in the trilogy. Vanilla and Greatest Hits version of Gran Turismo 3. Once again, another early PlayStation 2 memory. Playing this with my brother-in-law Luke at the time. This was like my first exposure to the Gran Turismo series, and it was awesome. I liked it. It's really good. In fact, I actually think the camera in this game was a lot better than the ones that came after, where it just kind of like stuck behind your car. And in case in point, Gran Turismo 4, you know, for a lot of people, a better game, but I don't like how the camera is stuck behind your car. Gun Griffin Blaze, we took a look at this in our last holographic video. One of my favorite survival horror games on the PlayStation 2, and in general, Haunting Ground. A very sought after horror title that goes for a lot of money these days. Haven Call of the King, Headhunter, Hurdy-Gurdy, Hot Shots Golf 3, Hot Shots Tennis, Jak and Daxter. Once again, iconic PlayStation 2 series that I completely missed out on because I was so far up Xbox and GameCube's ass. Jak 2, Jak 3, and Jak X Combat Racing. Next up we have Jurassic Park Operation Genesis, the original Killzone. King of Fighters 2006, Kingdom Hearts 1, Kingdom Hearts 2, and Kingdom Hearts Rechain of Memories. Klonoa 2, Lunateal's Veil. Kaya Dark Lineage. This one's actually factory sealed. Now when I bought this off eBay, I wanted to try it out, but it came factory sealed. And I don't have the heart to break that seal. The Legend of K, Lifeline. A game that I still have yet to play because I don't have a USB microphone for the PlayStation 2. Metal Gear Solid 2, Sons of Liberty. I mean, come on. This has got to be one of the most iconic PlayStation 2 games of all time, and what an experience that one was. Not to mention Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater, which is probably up there as one of my favorite, if not my favorite, PlayStation 2 games. Granted, I prefer Subsistence over the vanilla version, but I don't have Subsistence right now in my collection. Ooh, the original Monster Hunter. Primitive as hell by today's standards, but still an absolute banger. And did you know that Monster Hunter 2 also came out on the PlayStation 2? However, this is a Japanese exclusive. Never came out here in the US, although most of its content came out in the PSP editions. My only PlayStation 2 Japanese import. We have the premium pack of Mortal Kombat Deception, which comes with the game and a bonus disc, which has a really nice holographic box art, by the way. Motorstorm Arctic Edge. This was originally a PlayStation portable game that made its way to the PS2. Naruto Ultimate Ninja, Naruto Shippuden Ultimate Ninja 4, NASCAR Heat 2002, Need for Speed Hot Pursuit 2. Keep in mind, if you're going to pick up this game, the PlayStation 2 edition is different from the Xbox and GameCube versions. PlayStation 2 version, arguably better. Nightshade, which is kind of like a sequel to the Shinobi game that was released on the PS2 that I still have yet to get. And Obscure Aftermath. This is the second game in the series. Not as expensive as the original one is on the aftermarket these days, but still pretty up there. But I'm sure it's going to be up there at some point. So if you haven't picked it up, definitely check it out. It's also on the Wii and the PSP. Next up, we have Onimusha 1, Onimusha 2, Onimusha 3, and Onimusha Dawn of Dreams, Pac-Man World Rally, Pac-Man World 2, Pac-Man World 3, Pirates of the Caribbean, The Legend of Jack Sparrow, Ratchet & Clank, Ratchet & Clank Going Commando, Ratchet & Clank Deadlock. I still have yet to get Up Your Arsenal for some reason. Red Faction, Greatest Hits version. My favorite PlayStation 2 online games at the time, and to this day, still two of my favorite Resident Evil games. Resident Evil Outbreak File 1 and File 2. They're pretty much like the complete package when you have them together. But yeah, to this day, I wish I could still play these online. I'm sure there's still some way to do it, but I haven't really delved into that. Ridge Racer 5, Jet Li's Rise to Honor. This is a fun game. Most expensive game I've ever spent money on, Rule of Rose. This game is easily double what I paid for it at the time. The only problem with this one is that it has no manual, so that kind of takes away some of the value. But it is what it is. I wanted to play it, so I have it. Ooh, one of my favorites on the PlayStation 2, Rumble Roses. This is a fantastic wrestling game using the Ukes engine that was used in the SmackDown games. I love this one. Another one of my favorites on the PlayStation 2, Sakura Wars So Long My Love. This one actually comes with 2 discs, which is awesome. One with the English and one with the Japanese voices. This is my wife's favorite series of all time, the Sly Cooper games. Here we have Sly Cooper 1. This is the Black Label version. And we also have Sly Cooper, the Greatest Hits edition. As you can see, 2 different cover arts here. Very interesting. Me personally, I prefer the Greatest Hits edition. But yeah, I had to own them both. Otherwise she'll kill me. And we also have Sly Cooper 2, Band of Thieves, and Sly 3, Honor Among Thieves. Next up, we have Silent Hill 3 and Silent Hill 4, The Room. This one's creepy, man. I played some of this one and I had to stop because those ghosts, those sounds they made, ugh, just rattled me wrong. Simpsons Road Rage, SOCOM US Navy SEALs. To this day, one of the most fun online games I've ever played. I used to play this religiously. We also have Memory Card Hog, SOCOM 2, SOCOM 3, SOCOM Combined Assault, Sonic Unleashed, Spy Hunter on the PlayStation 2. This game ended up coming out on GameCube and Xbox. However, I own the Xbox version, I own the PlayStation 2 version. The Xbox got a bad port of it. Play the PlayStation 2 version, it looks better. Next up, Siphon Filter, the Omega Strain. Siphon Filter Dark Mirror and Logan Shadow, the Tekken Tag Tournament, of course, early PlayStation 2 game that I remember playing tons of times with my brother-in-law, and the soundtrack for this game is still insane. I do have Tekken 4 as well, but Tekken 5 is where I fell in love with the series again, and to this day, it's still one of my favorites in the series. Tenchu Fatal Shadows, Tomb Raider Angel of Darkness, Tomb Raider Anniversary, Transformers, Twisted Metal Black, Twisted Metal Head On, this is the extra Twisted Edition, Virtua Fighter 4, and Virtua Fighter 4 Evolution. Unfortunately, this one only came out as a greatest hits. Never got a black label here in North America, but it is what it is. Oh, completely forgot this one. Spyro the Eternal Night, War of the Monsters. This is a fun game that's exclusive to the PlayStation 2. They released it on the PS4 as a port as well, but this is a fun kaiju style brawler. Definitely pick this one up if you're a fan of the Godzilla games and you would just like something a little different. Win Back the Covert Operations, Win Back 2 Project Poseidon, WWE SmackDown Shut Your Mouth, SmackDown Here Comes the Pain, SmackDown vs. Raw, SmackDown vs. Raw 2006, The X-Files Resist or Serve, Yu-Gi-Oh! The Duelist of the Roses. As it stands, that was my collection. However, I've added a few more to the collection this past month, so you're getting an early view of my recent game pickups episode. Rebel Raiders Operation Nighthawk, Splashdown Rides Gone Wild, Samurai Legend Musashi, Rygar, Jet X2O, Jurassic the Hunted. This was just a curiosity. I have it on the 360 and I wanted to see how bad the PS2 version was. Oh boy, The Mark of Kree, and Magic Pen Gel, The Quest for Color. So that is pretty much my PlayStation 2 collection. As you can see, we got a hell of a lot of the games on this system. I can stop buying games today and be set for the rest of my life just with the PlayStation 2 alone, and that is the thing about the PlayStation 2. One of the best libraries of software in the world. Now, like I said before, not my personal favorite console, but it is up there in the top. I just wish Sony and developers future-proofed their games a little bit more. My issue is more a resolution thing with the PlayStation 2, but I understand a lot of people really don't care about that stuff, and that's perfectly fine. The PlayStation 2 was and is a legendary console, and definitely worth checking out if you're just collecting retro games. A lot of those games are pretty up there in price. Now, personally, there's still a lot of games for this system that I still want to collect. Case in point, the Devil May Cry series. I would like to have the original PlayStation 2 versions. I want to get the Maximo games. I can go on and on. There's still so much greatness on this console that I've yet to pick up. So anyways, I want to know what your personal connection with the PlayStation 2 is. What were some of your favorite games on this legendary console? And is it a console you still boot up to this day? I want to know about it. Let me know in the comment section down below. Thank you all for watching. I appreciate you. Once again, PlayStation 2, happy 23rd birthday. And that's it for today's video. I wish you all a good game and good night.